Not a good weekend for us, Mark. At
No,
all.
we were too cocky last week.
We were riding high, and unfortunately, it all came crashing down. But we did have a better week than Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier. So
Why?
it was a
I
little
was
bit
wondering
better.
if we were going to talk about that at all.
I honestly didn't plan on it. It just
Yeah.
literally came to my mind right now. I was like, well, we did have a better week than these two guys. That
I'm
is a crazy story.
I feel like I don't know about you, but I feel like it's tip of the iceberg type stuff.
Yeah.
I
And
think
it is interesting that the NBA is the league that always finds itself embroiled in this type of stuff, right? Like is this type of stuff definitely has to happen in other leagues, but the NBA I think has just positioned itself. It's also probably the easiest sport to rig, right?
yeah,
There's
oh
so many
yeah.
points involved that and you can finagle things, and obviously we had going back to the Tim Doherty situation and even before then. But this one is very interesting because we're talking like decades of a poker game and
Yeah.
like actually uh you know rigging it against poker pros. Like poker pros were getting taken advantage of in this situation. Like it's pretty wild.
It
But
definitely seems like one of those things where the FBI kind of knew about it, or like it seems like it's been going on. Like the NBA and Terry Rozier, it seems like they knew about it last year, 2 years
yeah,
ago, whatever it
because
was.
they had been investigating and they cleared him ultimately. And then it
But
makes you wonder, like, how did they clear?
well,
What
and
kind of
it's maybe
investigation did they do? Obviously, they don't have the resources of the FBI, but the investigation didn't give them pause at all to be
yeah,
like, we need more here.
and that's for me where it gets interesting, right? Where maybe the NBA knew they
Yeah.
had something, and then it's like we're just gonna. How can we keep this under wraps? And it's almost like, listen, I don't know whether you like him or not. Like it's almost like Cash Patel's just kind of like, I'm gonna blow this shit up. I don't
Just
care. Like,
scorched earth. Yeah.
yeah, it feels very much like there was an understanding about how things worked, and hey, we have an understanding, and then all of a sudden this new guy just comes in and is like, no, we don't do that, and we're gonna blow your stuff up. I heard a joke that was like, I think it was PFT on Pardon My Take was like, Cash Patel is actually like a huge hockey guy, like he's a puck head. So this is his attempt to like bring down the NBA as like a puck guy, which I think is funny. I think what's really interesting about it, and I know we'll move on. We got a lot to talk about it. To me, is like it's really two separate things, right? You have like the Terry Roziers of the world who are like, I am throwing stats in games, and everyone's going to benefit off it.
Yeah.
And then there's the Chauncey Billups thing, which like, I'm a celebrity, use me to draw in big names and then scam them out of all the money you want and just cut me off the top. Like the poker thing, it's not like Chauncey Billups was the head coach and like calling timeouts to make sure his team loses or wins.
Yeah, it wasn't directly tied to.
It seems like Chauncey almost at some point in time met the wrong people, got caught up with the wrong people, maybe inadvertently got owed someone some money and like, hey, you want to either pay us something or you want to do this for us. And the thing is, once those families get you, the mafia, the mobs, like
you're in.
You're not getting out. Like you think, oh, I'll pay this debt, I'm done. No. That's not how it works. Because then it's like they got you on you paid us a debt, you worked with us, and now we have you because we could just out you for that or whatever it might be.
Yeah. They could blackmail you till the end of time.
Until the end of time. So it feels like maybe there's that, and if that's a thing. And the Chauncey Billups thing to me feels like more the tip of the iceberg, right? Feels like the players doing things for stats and stuff like that. I feel like that's going to be a fairly new thing. It's a fairly like recent with the apps like blowing up, right? Like Terry Rozier was doing
readily available it is.
He was doing it for his buddies, and they were just skimming off the top or whatever it might be, right? I got a good homeboy from back home. He's down in his luck. I got you. Here, you know what we'll do? And then you just cut me in a little off the top, and bada bing, bada boom, everyone wins, right?
Yeah.
That gets flagged.
The biggest winner out of all of this is probably Pete Rose because he's going to look better and better over time.
Yeah, there's more.
People like, well, he was just betting on his team to win. He wasn't.
Yeah,
he wasn't rigging.
Wasn't rigging games. Yeah, and so I think the Chauncey Billups thing will be interesting. We'll see more if there's people in those Bonanno crime families and all that Cash Patel is listing. Like, if they start talking or other people start talking to like, hey, I want to get ahead of this. Okay, I'll squeal. Like, just cut me a good deal. Who's to say there's not other just celebrities, famous people, other people who were doing this for the
Oh,
mob?
sure. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'll get you. Yeah, I'll bring rich people to a card game, and then you can X-ray their cards. It's like some James Bond shit, and then we can all make money. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it is wild. A fascinating
That
story.
really is the story. We don't have to talk about the Bears and Steelers.
No,
We don't.
no, no. It pales in comparison in terms of the impact.
This is
So
real
we'll
life,
focus on
people.
that.
Real life.
No, unfortunately, we do have to get into it. We do have to talk about it. Not looking forward to that aspect of today's discussion. But nonetheless, here we go into our Week 8 recap. We don't have to start with the Bears or the Steelers, so that's good. We'll warm ourselves up to this one.
With the stupid Vikings.
Yeah, the stupid Vikings, 37-10 beat down by the Los Angeles Chargers. Really, really big day for Justin Herbert and company. Tough day all around for Minnesota, including the loss of their quarterback Carson Wentz, who was definitely hurting quite a bit with that shoulder, and now he's going to have season-ending surgery on said shoulder. We'll see what this means for the return of J.J. McCarthy. Expectation is that he'll be ready to go this upcoming week, but I don't entirely know if that's been, made official yet. But huge loss for them. They dropped to 3-4. That was, a critical game for many, and especially for the Chargers, who, with the resurgence of Kansas City taking, charge in this division, with the Broncos having some big wins recently, Chargers really were, in danger of really kind of losing it in the middle part of the season, Mark. But they come back with a resounding victory here, improved to 5-3, and now they're right there in the divisional standings, keeping pace.
It's funny. I think on last week's episode or 2 weeks ago, I was able to kind of tie the Thursday night and the Monday night game. And I feel very similar about this as well. The Vikings, to me, feel a lot like Washington. Two teams last year that were really, really elite teams. They had won a bunch of games. They were getting great quarterback play, and everything was going right. And this year, it feels like two teams with a lot of talent where nothing is breaking their way, and quarterback injury has just been kind of the storyline for them. Now, obviously, the difference is with Jaden Daniels, we kind of know his talent, his ceiling, what his expectations. So we feel like a little more confident in Washington, like just get Jaden back and you'll be able to make a wild card run, right? With Minnesota, the difference is it's like, what is this team with J.J. McCarthy? We just have no idea.
Yeah.
But it's weird as a 3-4 team. This is a team that won, 14 games last year? And if I'm a fan of this team, I'm frustrated. I am really frustrated. And I'm giving Carson Wentz a ton of credit. You didn't think Carson Wentz was going to be a name. 2 months ago, he wasn't even on.
No,
and
on the radar
he tore up his shoulder. And because you're trying to nurse J.J. McCarthy's ankle, and it really feels like a soft benching. It's more like he's injured. Let's just give him time. Like, he had to play two games.
I think they felt they had a luxury of they were playing decent enough.
Yes. I think that's part of it.
They didn't think that, McCarthy was playing lights out beforehand. Yeah. So what's he going to do now? But I mean, it does go to show, how much faith do they have in J.J. McCarthy? Because Colin Cowherd, did he kind of like low key, like reveal some information on one of his shows last week where it seemed like he was, at least, where he's talking about how the Vikings were in on wanting Sam Darnold. Maybe he was speculating.
Yeah, no.
He was basically saying like they wanted Sam Darnold or they wanted Aaron. They were looking elsewhere.
Wanted Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones, correct. Yeah,
the problem was with all three of them, they all got better offers and a guaranteed start somewhere else without the pressure.
What does that tell you? I mean, that definitely makes it clear that J.J. McCarthy, there's
There's questions.
Yeah.
And the pressure of being in front of JJ McCarthy. I think the Kirk Cousins Atlanta thing was such a symbol, a signal to all of those guys. Was like, just go somewhere where, if you believe in yourself, go somewhere where you don't have a rookie staring you down. Because the moment you throw a pick, it's gonna be like, oh, who cares? Get the rookie in, like, season's over. Listen, for Minnesota, they're at the Lions next week. We're gonna see if he's for real, if they're for real, if they're a contender or not. The Lions have a chance next week to kind of put their foot on the Vikings season and send them to 3-5. Right now, the Vikings, if that is a must-win game. It is to get back in the division race, to get back in the wild card race, which is going to be really tough in the NFC. For the Chargers,
can't run the football. That's their biggest problem.
They can't.
That's a JJ McCarthy's best friend.
Yeah,
you can't.
It's a great point. And for the Chargers, listen, credit to them. Herbert, really good. He ran the ball 7 times, 62 yards, 3 touchdown passes. Vidal coming out of nowhere. I mean, the Chargers get Joe Alt back, and listen, they go all in back with the run game. I'd also say the trend for Ladd McConkey is really good. Ladd McConkey, the last 4 games, 3 touchdowns. It looks like they're kind of like, all right, reestablishing that connection they had. He was with Madison Beers and Justin Herbert at a Halloween party this week, so that's a good sign. Like, the both hanging out. Madison Beers, Justin Herbert, he's QB1.
Good on you. Yeah,
he's QB1.
Good on you, sir.
And you never saw Justin Herbert anywhere. And in the last week, he's at a Halloween party. He's at the LA Lakers game courtside.
Hey, man,
he's everywhere.
He's living it up. He's
at the Dodgers game last night. I don't blame him.
He was at that game. My goodness, that's a late night.
I don't know if he stayed. I don't know if he stayed the whole game.
Sure.
Also, shout out to Gadsden. This rookie 5th round tight end has kind of come out of nowhere. Chargers feel like they're piecing it together and they're trending in the right direction, despite the fact that they've really been hit by the injury bug. Everyone's injured. Feels like they took on a bigger bite from the injury apple, but they're starting to get healthy. They're playing good football, 5-3. Vibes are heading in the right direction for the Chargers, wrong direction for the Vikings. The Chargers are at the Titans next week. Should easily get to 6-3 and keep this train rolling.
They scored on their first 5 drives except for 1 missed field goal. So that tells you that even on that one drive, they got deep enough to where they were ready to score. They had an interception in the 3rd quarter, but then they followed that up with 3 more scoring drives. So 7 scoring drives on the day.
Yeah.
Very impressive stuff from the Chargers. They were rolling. And this once vaunted Minnesota defense has really struggled the last 3-4 weeks of the season. Part of that probably has been a little bit of instability offensively on top of it, sustaining drives running the football. But yeah, to your point, next week is going to be a big week for Minnesota. Let's get to the Dolphins on the road at the Falcons. I'm curious your take, because we already agree, pending some sort of ridiculous, miraculous comeback that we haven't seen in quite some time, the Dolphins season is largely already over. This was a huge win, probably a good morale boost for a lot of the guys, including Tua, who threw 4 touchdowns in this game. But Mark, my thought is, what does this say for the Falcons, who really had an opportunity here to go to 4-3 and continue to maybe put a little bit of pressure on Tampa, especially, a week after Tampa had a tough loss. But for the Falcons to come out really flat, obviously Kirk Cousins was in this game, so that, took a different temperature entirely. But they lost by 24. The defense didn't look particularly good, where it had looked pretty decent earlier this season. To you, are the Falcons complete pretenders in terms of, contention for this division whatsoever? Or did you feel that maybe this was more of a blip and that they're still a 8-win team potentially?
They're an up and down team, and I don't know what to take of this game from them, because Kirk Cousins was the starting quarterback and he did not look good. My biggest takeaway for the Falcons was Kirk just killed his chances, right, of getting that one last chance. If Kirk came out and was 27 for 31, not 21 for 31, if he had 270 yards, not 170 yards, and threw a touchdown or 2 and kept it close and was like, oh, look it, they're really getting everyone involved. But it was very obvious if you watch that game, like he just couldn't do it. And I know they didn't have Drake London, so that hurts his chances of being successful. But if you're Kirk Cousins, you've been without stars before. You still had Pitts, you still had Bijan, who only had 9 carries for 25 yards. It was an ugly game for him.
Robinson had a really rough
The
day.
Dolphins ran it down your throats 37 times for 141 yards. I don't know what to make of the Falcons. I haven't believed in the Falcons at all as far as it being a contender. I didn't pick them to make the playoffs. I think this is kind of a ho-hum, but it makes Michael Penix look good. Like it certainly makes you feel a little bit better about Michael Penix being able to run this offense more consistently. For the Dolphins, I mean, Tua was spectacular. 20 of 26, 4 touchdown passes. Waddle, 5 catches, 99 yards, a touchdown. They didn't look like a team that quit, which is wild because they looked like the team that quit for the last couple of weeks. So I don't know where this came from. It was a great win on the road. Maybe it was just clearly one of those times where McDaniel said, like, maybe he did motivate them in the right way to be like, listen, this is now one of those moments where it's like everyone's on the line. Like, put the tape out there at least. Like, go play like you're playing for your next contract. Like, I got to play for mine. Like, it felt like a team that was like, hey, we're going to put on some tape. Like, Tua was all in, even with that weird eye injury thing that he was dealing with.
I was like half swollen.
Great win for the Dolphins. I don't know where it leads, but what I know, it leads to them hosting the Ravens tomorrow night, or 2 nights from now, on Thursday Night Football. And if they can play Lamar Jackson at home and beat him and stop this little Ravens momentum, and they can get to 3-6, I'm not saying the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs, but it will certainly change, I think, the vibes of the season, and once again proves that these are long seasons. I know it's only 17 games compared to 82 in the NBA. But these are long seasons as far as how quickly the vibes can change and turn around. Falcons are at the Patriots next week. Whoever's playing, I don't expect them to win that game.
Yeah, definitely not. Is anybody more happy for Justin Fields than us here on the Football Lounge? What a great way for him to get out there and get a signature win. Yeah, the Bengals suck. Their defense is really bad.
Someone started the Bengals defense at fantasy and thought it was a good idea, and it lost them 9 points. So
yikes. Yeah. Well, 39 points the Jets are able to put up on this one, a 1-point victory, 39-38. How about that point total there for these two teams? Clearly both defenses really, really poor, but awesome for Justin Fields to kind of have that comeback victory and get it, late and get the first win of the season for the Jets, and to do it the week after Woody Johnson made all of those remarks and, he was benched and all of that stuff. Really cool for him to get the win there. And for the Bengals, really brutal loss because they, as we saw what just happened with Pittsburgh on Sunday night, they really had a good opportunity to make this even that much closer than it still is right now. So really brutal way to lose for Cincinnati, but I still think they got to feel pretty good about Joe Flacco and company, even though he now is nursing an injury.
Dude, the Bengals were up 31-16 at the end of the third quarter. You can't lose that game at home. You just can't lose that game to a winless Jets team. That's the type of loss that makes me feel like one of two things. Either the Bengals will now rip off 3 wins in a row and kind of like find the motivation from that loss, right? Or it's the type of loss that it really kind of unravels things. As you mentioned, now Flacco's beat up and things just kind of fall apart. I'm hoping it's the latter because the Bengals are playing the Bears next week in Cincinnati. And so
I will be hoping for that as well.
We'll see. But yeah, to me, the Jets scored 23 in the fourth. Fields was really good in this game. I don't want to say he was fantastic. 21 of 32. He had a touchdown pass, 244 yards. No Garrett Wilson. So they're doing it without Garrett Wilson. But it was really the Breece Hall game. Like, it was a reminder that Breece Hall, if in the right situations, if used correctly, is an elite back in this game, and someone who can bust games like a Jahmyr Gibbs or bust games like a Jonathan Taylor on his own style, but is an ultimate weapon. So credit to them. Shout out to Jamar Chase getting 12 catches for 91 yards. I will say the Bengals did everything right offensively. I mean, Brown and Pirine combined 21 carries, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, they were running the ball. They were up 31-16. They fell apart. I mean, they just defensively couldn't get anything. They needed one stop in the fourth quarter, and they couldn't get it. So it's a bad loss for them. And for the Jets, it does feel like this is now starting to maybe feel a little bit more like Aaron Glenn can sell this as, see, you just need to take time. We're going to get things, it's helping avoid that pressure of getting that first win. They might now be able to get to 4 or 5 wins because
rally the troops
they got the one. The Jets are taking on the Browns next week. That's an ugly game. Bengals, Bears, that's an ugly game. Listen, I don't. I'm happy for Justin, but I'm still not like. I'm not like, oh, okay, now he's the guy.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
no, I agree. We've seen enough to kind of know where this is headed and kind of what the finished product looks like for the most part. But good to have moments like that for good guys in the NFL. The New England Patriots had another outstanding performance against a really good defense in Cleveland. 32-13 win for the Patriots. They're 6-2. They are atop the AFC East, and the way they're playing, they look like they may be the team to beat in that division, not the Buffalo Bills. Drake May outstanding, and obviously it was a rough start to this game, but that third quarter ripping off 3 straight touchdown drives. Drake May was looking really good, and this all in the face of Myles Garrett having 5 sacks in the game. It's incredible.
The Patriots were up 9-7 at half. It was tense. There was a lot of ugly football in the first half. Drake May had 1 ugly interception, but he bounced back with 3 touchdowns, 282 yards. And as you said, 3 straight touchdowns in the third. By the end of the third, it was 30-7. So they went on. There's a 21-0 third quarter, and the wheels fell off for the Browns, who fall to 2-6. Myles Garrett is a special player. Myles Garrett, put him in the long list now of the Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnsons, the Joe Thomases for his own Browns organization.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Where it's like you are just a Hall of Fame player who's going to play 90% or all of his career in one place, and you're never going to be a winner, but it doesn't take away from the fact that you are a Hall of Fame player and you're an absolute phenom. And Myles Garrett is certainly that. They were dominating the Patriots. Now, the Patriots, I think they can learn something from this win. That is, number one is I think they obviously have to handle – there's a lot of elite pass rushers in the AFC. They obviously have to handle that better. You can't give up 5 sacks to one guy. And secondly, what I think, if I'm a Pats fan and if I'm the Pats organization, I'm looking in the mirror, Dan, and I want your thoughts on this, is like, do we make a move? Like, you have a second-year quarterback on his rookie deal, and he is exploding. I mean, he's putting up numbers that he's in the category of like the only other people to do this in a 7-game stretch are guys named Manning, Brady, and Mahomes. It's otherworldly what he's doing. He's performing at a high level. Now, I don't know if this is Jaden Daniels year 1, if this is sustainable, but right now it's happening. So do you make a move and go all in, maybe disrupt the chemistry, or do you just stay with the hot hand, leave it as it is, and let the chips fall as they do?
Yeah, it's a good question. They're talking about a lot of wide receivers potentially being on the trading block, and this could be a move that the Patriots can make as well. I mean, we're hearing Rashid Shaheed being floated, and Chris Olave, which doesn't seem likely, but Jacoby Myers, like some of these other like really solid players around the league. There's running backs that could be in play as well. Now they do have the rookie Travion Henderson, and Ramondre Stevenson seems to be playing better too. I don't think they're going to get like a great pass rusher or offensive lineman. Those are really hard to get in trade mid-season. But yeah, there's certainly, I would think, an opportunity at play right now to push your chips in and just go for it.
Yeah.
And I think they should do that. But It's amazing what Drake May's been able to do in year 2, and just how good it's all looking with less than ideal weapons around him.
And Gabriel wasn't terrible, but again, it's like
He's been fine.
the writing's on the wall.
Spencer Rattler.
He's Bryce Young. He's Spencer Rattler. That's who he is. So we are definitely on Shedeur watch for sure.
Yeah. The Eagles win 38-20 over the New York Giants. The Giants' glimmer has, darkened a little bit, has dimmed over the last couple weeks
and
here.
is facing the wrong way.
What's that?
The Giants' hopes have snapped and is facing the wrong way.
Yes. To put it lightly, yes. Cam Scatterbo, or Cam Scattered Bone. Sorry, it's too much.
That's brutal.
Done for the season. So that's a pretty rough outlook for the Giants, but I think they know that they had something there. Jackson Dart has had his ups and downs so far this season, so looks like the Giants are probably going to have a rough go the rest of the year. But the Eagles, on the flip side, this was a really nice game for them to reestablish some dominance, especially for Saquon Barkley, who was having a pretty quiet year, especially by his standards. They're 6-2. They're atop the NFC East, and they're maintaining their spot among the upper echelon in the NFC, where for a little bit there, it looked like it was going to get a little shaky with that 2-game losing streak.
Yeah, I'll quickly say this for the Giants. With Scatterbo's injury, it sucks. And a shattered ankle like that, I mean, I've been saying it for 4 weeks now, like, Scatterbo's not longevity for the league because of the way his style of play. That was a freak injury. That's not the type of stuff I'm talking about. Your heart breaks for him and for Giants fans because it was such a fun dynamic with him and Dart. The focus has to be now. Dart was sacked 5 times. Like, you cannot. This season becomes an utter and total disaster if Dart somehow misses a large chunk or is going to miss a chunk of next year in the offseason because he gets injured. You've got to protect this kid now, and you've got to manage games. I know that you've got to try to win games because that's going to save everyone's jobs. But at this point in time, the most important thing for them is like, okay, can we bubble wrap Dart as much as possible and help him out? He wasn't great in this game, 14 of 23, but a lot of that was the pressure. And then he's got no one. Now he's got no one. And maybe they're in the market to trade for someone to just give him a weapon, something to have down the stretch. The game was never close. After a really interesting sequence, the Giants go down and kick a field goal. 2:40 left in the second. It's 14-10. And Philadelphia, to their credit, they march down and with seconds left in the half score that touchdown to go up 21-10. And it was over from there. It was a great response from Philadelphia. Tank Bigsby, 104 yards on 9 carries. He had a 29-yard run. Obviously, Saquon had the 65-yard run. Goddard, 2 touchdowns, 4 touchdown passes from Hurts. This was a classic Hurts game. Under 200 yards, but 4 touchdown passes. Just a ridiculous box score. No A.J. Brown in this game.
Yeah.
The question is A.J. Brown and his fit and his future. It's starting to feel like he's a problem. I know Philadelphia fans have maybe felt that way for a little bit longer, but nationally and just from our perspective, it's starting to feel like, oh, okay, you're just playing better football without A.J. Brown. And it feels like A.J. Brown is a headache on the sideline. And listen, this was a Philly team that was 4-2 2 weeks ago. We were talking about, shit, the sky is falling in Philadelphia. They're 6-2 now, and they've completely righted the ship. Mm-hmm. And they've done that primarily, especially with a big win like this at home over a division rival who just beat them, because without A.J. Brown playing great football. And that's something to think about. I don't think they'll trade him because the cap hit is insane. I think they'd have to take on like $40+ million in dead money. I mean, it's crazy, crazy, crazy. But they got to live in that uncomfortability and get it right because this team is talented. This team is absolutely one of the favorites in the NFC. They have a stranglehold on their division now, and they're playing at Green Bay on Monday night. And so that That's going to be huge, right? And is AJ Brown playing for that game? What does it look like if he has a meltdown on Monday night and they lose against Green Bay? That's going to be a huge story. So we'll keep an eye on that. For the Giants, they're against the 49ers. And again, just protect Dart. Protect him. We do not need to come on a football lounge and be talking about Jackson Dart with a season-ending injury. We just can't do it.
Definitely not. Carolina's home dominance came to an abrupt halt this past weekend. The Buffalo Bills routing the Panthers 40-9.
Yeah.
James Cook finally, returning to form here, over 200 yards in this game. Josh Allen dominating. Not too many surprises here overall, Mark.
No, the only surprise is the stat that came out afterwards. The Bills are 5-0 this season when Cook has 100 yards or more. So they are literally, that's the game plan. If you're playing the Bills, which they're playing the Chiefs next week at 3:25 Central Time on CBS, the game of the week with Nance and Romo in Buffalo. If you're Kansas City and I'm Steve Spagnuolo, I'm just telling our guys, we are going to not let up 100 yards to Dalvin Cook, and we should win this game. Like that's what the Bills are. Now, I will say this. I think the Bills can win in other ways. I think you can hold Cook to 70 yards, right, on 15, 16 carries.
It's how they've won this
and year. They can win. I'm not saying the Bills won't be able to do that. I won't be shocked if on Tuesday next week we're talking about the Bills win and Cook doesn't have 100 yards. But what it does tell you is a pretty simple formula, is that the offense and everything works better for Josh Allen and for the Bills when things are running through Cook. He had 19 carries. Josh Allen had 19 pass attempts. He's the MVP. And yet you're a willingness to say this is all we need to do. For the Panthers, you're 4-4. And again, if this was a soft benching, I don't know why. Like I'm confused as to the why, unless the team has already made up their mind about Bryce Young, and maybe he's someone who's now on the trade block secretly or something. I don't know the motivation. If this was a soft benching. I know they said he was injured and we rest him, and maybe you look at this like, we're not going to beat the Bills anyways. I don't know. But
yeah,
I just don't.
I agree.
I don't understand playing Andy Dalton. I just don't understand playing Andy Dalton at all.
Yeah, and I mean, my adjacent concern as well is, given how great Rico Dowdle was playing, their knee-jerk reaction to just put Chuba Hubbard back into the starting role when he returned. They phased out Rico Dowdle the last 2 weeks. This past week, he was the one that averaged like almost 6 yards a carry. Chuba Hubbard was not doing much on the ground at all.
He was less than 3 yards a carry.
Oh, yeah. So, and I know Dave Canales came out and basically said we felt that Hubbard deserved, given what he's done for this team, but it was kind of actually a pretty illuminating soundbite from him, because he's basically admitting that, it looks like we're probably going to have to make a different decision there. So maybe they'll go back to Rico Dowdle. I'm not going to say that's going to fix all their issues, but the guy who ran for over 200 yards in back-to-back weeks might be a guy that you want to keep leaning on when everything else around your team is not that great. So
I will say, Dan, we'll talk about it here coming up, but it's truth. There is a lot of truth in the fact that in the NFL, historically, it's always been a league that you don't lose your job to injury. Tom Brady was the wild exception, right? Where it's like, no. When the starter's healthy, they play, right?
Yeah.
It feels a little bit like, hey, Chuba's back. He doesn't no one loses their job due to injury, but it's like sometimes you lose your job to injury. And that's like, this is the textbook example. Dowdle is the better running back right now in this fit. Maybe Chuba's not 100% healthy, but he just felt like, I got to get back because Dowdle's taking my spot. But all you do in that situation is you hurt yourself, because you're going to, now it looks like you've lost whatever it is you had, Chuba. So it's a tough spot to be in.
The Ravens beat your Chicago Bears 30-16 in Baltimore. Tyler Huntley scores Derrick Henry scores 2 touchdowns in the win, but Tyler Huntley looked really good overall. He was efficient in this game. I'm not going to say he was like, lights out or whatever. He just did kind of what you expect out of a competent backup to do. But the fact that the Bears couldn't disrupt them offensively enough, and the fact that the Bears offensively, Mark, and Caleb Williams were just not clicking or in sync at all against a really poor Ravens defense throughout the year. What do you make of the game plan, of the execution by Caleb, and are there larger concerns you're starting to have at all?
Let me first continue our last game into this game. Cairo Santos, you don't lose your job to injury.
Yeah.
Okay, you came back, it's over. Like, when you see a kicker like Jake Moody find his confidence again, and he's got a big enough leg to make 60-yard field goals, you can't attempt a 53-yarder at the end of half and come up 5 yards short. Like, it's just like you can't be a kicker in the NFL. And I know there'll be a time coming up this season if the Bears do bench Santos for Moody, that Moody's going to miss a 30-yarder that would be a guarantee for Santos, because under 40 and in, he is 100% money. I'm already telling you right now, I can live with that, knowing that I have a guy that at the end of half can go out there and line up for a 55-yarder, and I at least know it's going to have the distance, right? You can't make a field goal if you can't get it to the bars. Like, it's got to have
that your
distance.
big takeaway from this game, though?
No. I'm just carrying I'm carrying it over. I'm carrying it over.
Yeah, that's fair.
You can't benching because of injury. I'm carrying it over. All right, my big takeaway from this game is I'm battling two narratives in my head. The first narrative is this: the Ravens were a really desperate team, and they're at home, and they knew all week Lamar wasn't playing in this game. And no one else knew, and the NFL is looking into that, as we know. Little gamesmanship there. And they came out, and they just were physical, and they had the Ravens that we expected this year look and feel. They were there. Derrick Henry had his carries, 21 carries, 71 yards. Not a lot of yards, but it was meaningful, impactful, 3-yard runs all the time, the 2 touchdown runs. They were really buttoned up. I think they had less than 5 penalties. They were, again, a team that felt like their game plan with Tyler Huntley was absolutely well cooked and baked. And like, if we can stick to this, we're going to be okay. And then Tyler Huntley got an opportunity once again in this league and made a ton of plays, including, I know you mentioned like, okay, well, he wasn't brilliant. 17 of 22, 186 yards, a touchdown. He also ran the ball for a ton. I believe I had it written down somewhere. Tyler Huntley ran for, I guess I don't have it written down, but he had like 50-something yards rushing. He was really efficient on the ground as well.
53 yards.
53 yards. So there's that narrative, right? Like, sometimes you just get beat, right? Like, sometimes you don't play well. You're on the road at an early window, East Coast, and it's just like you're against a desperate team that needed to win that game. And you just didn't have it. If the Bears were able to convert those first 2 drives into touchdowns, it's not field goals, maybe the Ravens never get that momentum. Maybe that you take the wind out of their sails a little bit and that desperate team, and you find a way to win a game, right? But you didn't. You didn't convert those. And then on that 3rd drive of the game, things fell apart offensively, and you punt after 3 and out, minus 18 yards. And then all of a sudden you're looking up going, wait a minute, we've dominated the time of possession. We've dominated this football team. And now we're down 10-6. Like, what is going on? And it felt like they never recovered from that. So that's the one narrative, right? You just get beat sometimes, and you're just a better team, that's more desperate, that needs to win a football game, wins a football game at home. The reason I'm not leaning towards that's exactly how this game went is for two reasons. Caleb Williams threw the ball 38 times in a game. They were never down more than 10 points. For a football team that's on a 4-game win streak, 2 of the games after the bye, they're leading the NFL in rushing in weeks 6 and 7 post-bye. They're leading the NFL in rushing with DeAndre Swift. He had 11 carries.
Mm-hmm.
And you were never down to where it's like, fuck it, we got to throw the ball because we're down by 17 points. We just got to go. We got to go. It was never that. It was never that game. Kyle Monungai, 7 carries. Your 2 backs that you have to think of them as Gibbs and Montgomery, like they're a focal point to Ben Johnson. They're not as talented as those guys, but what I'm saying is they have to think of them as they set your offense up for play action. Like the first 2 drives were so much play action with so much big, heavy sets that I formations going at times. I'm like, what are we watching? And they were moving the ball up and down the field at will. Now they didn't convert, but what happened in that 3rd drive? Shotgun, no motion, no creativity, throw, intentional grounding, Caleb Williams feeling the pressure, and it's a 3 and out, and all of a sudden the game gets away from you. So a lot of people want to just like, Caleb Williams stinks. Caleb did not play well enough to win the game. And the thing that's frustrating about that is Caleb is talented enough. You see it in the moments, like that sideline throw to Rome, who's got to catch that ball. If you're going to be a number 1 guy, you've got to catch that ball.
Agreed.
Caleb made an insane move out of the pocket, an insane throw down the sideline, a dart, and it hit your hands. You got to catch that ball. A guy who makes the scramble play to get you in position to kick that field goal. I know you want to criticize him for not getting out of bounds. It would have been really tough for him to get out of bounds, and he probably wouldn't have gotten enough yards then to even give you a chance to the field goal. I know the way that all ended, but this is a guy who can make special plays, so he can win you a game. So it is frustrating when that doesn't happen. But Dan, here's the other thing, and this to me goes directly to coaching. This is not on the quarterback. Maybe it's on the leadership of the team, but to me, it's one of those things that historically we've always said it's coaching. And this is a concern of mine for Ben Johnson so far. It's my biggest concern of Ben Johnson in his rookie year as a head coach. Another game, 2nd in a row, with 11 penalties. 11. The Bears have 64 penalties in 7 games. That is the most for the Chicago Bears in their first 7 games to start a season since the 1980s.
Wow.
So this is a team that is absolutely killing themselves with penalties. And Dan, they are giving up more. 16 of those penalties have gone for first downs. This is a team last year that was terrible. They lost 10 games in a row. They had 18 penalties go for first downs in the whole season last year.
Yeah.
So, listen, you want to say Caleb's not playing great, and you just want to blame Caleb because you're on a national talk show and that's what's going to get you clicks at headlines. Fine. That's why I don't concern myself with that. I'm still all in on Caleb. I'm still all in on Ben Johnson. But let's be honest. If they're going to win games like on the road at a desperate team that's got a ton of talent and is extremely well coached with a great culture who shouldn't be a 1-win football team in week 8, and yet here they are, and you're going to win that game, you're not going to do it with 11 penalties for 79 yards, and you're not going to do it with a kicker who can't make a 55-yard field goal. Those are 2 things you're not going to do, and you're not going to do it when your running back who's led the league in rushing the last 2 weeks has 11 carries in a game that was never more than a 10-point game. Yeah. So those to me are the concerns. Those are the concerns.
I think it's totally fair.
The Bears are at Cincy. The Ravens, credit to them, they found a way to win the game. I don't have much to say on the Ravens except for the run game got going. Keon Mitchell was really explosive on the outside. If Lamar Jackson could play like Tyler Huntley, then they'll be right back into battling their way, clawing back into like in the hunt graphics. It all starts for them on Thursday Night Football at Miami. That is a huge game for them. It's a huge game for Lamar. For the Bears and Cincy next week, it's a giant game for both of them. If they want to be thought of as still like talked about relevant teams for the next 3 or 4 weeks, it's a must win for both of them. So big games for these 2 teams. Credit to Baltimore for getting a win at home, especially when the Bears gifted to you with 11 penalties.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Baltimore, this was their season was approaching, dire straits. So this was a bigger win than it was a bad loss for Chicago. They're 4-3, but if the Ravens were to fall to 1-6, that's almost insurmountable from a historic standpoint. And so their season was on life support, and they were able to recover. I'm not terribly worried about the Bears either. We're also talking about 7 games into Ben Johnson's tenure, and he doesn't have the simplest offense to run, right? So I mean, we're talking about.
I'm not panicking.
We all knew that this whole year was going to be just hoping for steady and gradual progress. And hopefully by the end of the season, you feel confident going into 2026 with a much more polished look offensively. And hopefully in the meantime, you're flirting with a playoff spot. And currently they're still in that position.
Yes. My biggest, you nailed it right there. That's a great thing for Bears fans. Remember, if I have a final point on it, is another thing that Ben Johnson has to own up to is like, you have no Cole Kmet. You take Colston Loveland ahead of Tyler Warren. And on a tight end day with no Cole Kmet, he's the number one guy, 3 for 38. Like, and just not on real non-factor. Shamir Turner, their second round pick out of Texas A&M, tore his ACL. That sucks because he was starting to play a little bit more and play better. Luther Burden, so they're like first 3 picks, the wide receiver from Mizzou, 1 catch from -1 yard, left with a concussion. Ozzie Trapillo, the other top 3 round pick, the tackle, is not playing. He's going in on only jumbo sets. So they're getting nothing from their first 4 draft picks, all in the first 3 rounds. That is again on Ryan Pace, and maybe it's on Ben Johnson at this point. I don't know.
Ryan Pace, a little bit of a throwback there.
Ryan Poles. Sorry, I know the Ryans. And then finally, I will say this again: the improvement is Caleb Williams 1 sack. Like, he's not taking the sacks, and when we didn't see anything like those first 2 drives from Caleb Williams last year, like running an offense efficiently in a script. Yeah, you want them to become touchdowns, and you got to clean up the red zone stuff. But we saw nothing like that. So for people who are just like, "Oh, he's terrible," is he playing great? Is he playing like Drake May? No, he's not. That's obvious. But I'm seeing the improvement, and my positivity is still there. If it's still like this at this time next year, well, then we'll have the real conversations of, is it Ben? Is it Caleb? And who are the Bears going to choose going forward?
Makes perfect sense. I believe last week, did you pick the Texans 49ers as the game to watch for this week? And DJ Stroud and company pull off a very, very big, very important win here to move to 3-4 on the season, 26-15. It wasn't always pretty, but Stroud himself willed this team to victory, played very, very well. Best game by far of the season for him. 30 of 39, 318 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the 49ers stumbled a bit here. And, that's going to bring up more and more questions about the health of this team, what they're going to do with Purdy versus Jones and all of that. Jones had a pretty rough day all around, and they barely featured Christian McCaffrey either. So, a stumble, I would say, for San Francisco, and a season-saving victory for the Houston Texans.
For the San Francisco, I'll just say this. I think, listen, you got to go on the road against a really great defense. Maybe pound for pound, the best defense in the NFL. With a great defensive head coach who knows your offense really well because he used to be your defensive coordinator. So, listen, this was an advantage for the Texans at home. I will just say this. I would sit Purdy again for another week because you're playing the Giants. If Purdy is still nursing that toe, give him as much time as possible. He is your future. You just paid him a ton of money. You're at the Giants next week, who are so beat up. Even you, as beat up as you are, 49ers should be able to find a way to win that game. This game was all about the Texans. This was Stroud's best game in the last 2 years. 30 of 39, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, sacked 0 times. That's really crucial. Even with that offensive line being just so up and down and not great, I think that says 2 things. I think that says the offensive line played better. Stroud just saw the field really well. But I also think it's like the Niners can't rush the passer right now. Like, they just don't have the guys. So like, so I think it's a little bit of both of that. Texans were up 16-0 going into the half. Credit to the Niners for making it a game with that late drive going in, and the touchdown throw to Kittle make it 16-7 to say, hey, we're going to try and keep this thing competitive. No Nico Collins, Xavier Hutchinson, whoever that is, showed up big for the Texans. Big win for the Texans. Get back to 3-4, hanging around in that division. Can Stroud build on this? Can Stroud get that momentum back? If he's playing like that with that defense, they are going to be a tough out for a lot of teams.
They are. Yeah, I agree. That defense is so good, and if they can get this Stroud for half of the remaining games, they're going to be in a decent position come end of season. But it's just whether or not they'll be able to get that level of consistency out of CJ Stroud moving forward. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers go on the road at the Saints and win handily. Not too many takeaways here. Baker Mayfield didn't have to do much of anything in this game, and they win 23-3. The Saints bench Spencer Rattler. Tyler Shuck comes in, and Kellen Moore has now announced Tyler Shuck will be the starter, effectively benching Spencer Rattler. What's your take on that move and any takeaways from this game overall?
My take on that is go check Tankathon right now, because the New Orleans Saints are now the pole position for the first overall pick, thanks to that Jets win. Because of scheduling and everything, the Saints are in the driver's seat for the number one pick. I think Shuck getting the announced start is part of that as well. Two things. Now that you know that you have a path to the number one pick, losing helps you if you're this organization. And number two, you've got to see if this kid is anything. I think at this point, we know that Rattler is a capable quarterback in the NFL. He is just as good as Tyler Huntley, as Gardner Minshew a couple years ago. He is a guy that you want on your roster to fill in for 2 or 3 games over the next 5 years.
One of the best backups in the league.
He will have that title if he's a good guy from all accounts he is, then he's set. I'll say this about the Bucs. Gutsy win on the road against a divisional rival who they hate each other so much to get to 6-2. For them, this is a team that with no Mike Evans, no Godwin, Egbuka kind of had his first disappointing game. It felt off. I thought this was like one of those, it could have been a total trap game for the Bucs, and they avoided that. It wasn't
they
pretty.
Still won by 20,
Yeah, it wasn't pretty, but they avoided that, and that's all that matters. Shuck, to my knowledge, came in the third quarter. He threw the ball 30 times.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Possible.
What are we doing? So that's going to be fun to watch. Tampa is at New England next week.
Big game. That's a big game.
So that's in 2 weeks from now, I think. I think Tampa's going on the bye.
Oh, yeah, because
New England, I think
it's got to be.
New England has what we just mentioned earlier. And then the Saints are at the Rams. So that's a nice one for the Rams to keep moving up. I'm going to check that schedule really quick, but
you're right. It's the Patriots are facing a different team next week.
Okay, so Tampa's on a bye next week. Good for Tampa. They need a little get right, get healthy.
They could use that for sure. New England is at home against the Falcons next week. That's right.
Wait, but Tampa's 6-2, so they already have their bye. Did I screw I think I screwed this up somehow.
No, this was week 8.
Yeah, I know, but it was.
So they're 6-2. They've played 8 games. They have not had their bye yet.
Yeah, Tampa's on a bye next week. Sorry, that threw me off. All right, go ahead.
The Broncos win 44-24. The big question coming in was, were the Denver Broncos offensively going to be able to put a full 60-minute performance together versus a fourth quarter scramble fest? And they were in this game. They were in control early, and even though this game was close at certain points, Broncos were able to maintain that consistency throughout the entire game and win pretty convincingly. Bo Nix, 4 touchdowns, Mark, in this one. And, I don't know if we predicted that Dak was going to have this big of a struggle, but Denver's defense is real. And even coming into this game, I was confident that Bo Nix was probably going to have a better day than Dak Prescott, because that Denver defense is real. Dak was not going to be able to have much of a running game behind him, and he didn't. And threw 2 interceptions in this game as well. Meanwhile, J.K. Dobbins, R.J. Harvey, great ground game to complement Bo Nix's day there for Denver. So huge win for Denver. They're 6-2 atop the AFC West. Impressive for them. Dallas Cowboys fall to 3-4-1.
Yeah, a tough loss for Dallas because I felt like they had some momentum going. I think if you're Dallas, you just look at this and you have to chalk it up like that was a buzzsaw we kind of ran into. This is a team that leads the league in sacks and gives up some of the fewest amount of sacks, and they showed that in this game. It's a team that was coming off a wild victory, but truly, as we talked about, they were playing so piss poorly in the first three quarters that I think Sean Payton was able to really ream his team. And that's something that you would imagine he loves to do, to yell and be a dick to his team. And it came out like a team that was like, we are going to put on a full force effort. And they completely took advantage of everything. At some point in time, I think the Cowboys need to make a change of defensive coordinator. I think you need to try something different. They're by far the worst defense in the league. It is not close. They're giving up 30 plus to everyone. Great all-around game from Denver. They have to feel good about this right now. They have to feel good that they are 6-2 and they have a game up on the Chiefs. They have a little bit of breathing room. They have a little bit of wiggle room. And they still have some big games ahead of them, including at the Texans next week. That's going to be huge for both those teams.
Very big.
You go against playing the worst defense in the league at home to maybe the best defense in the league on the road. You need to bring your A game. Cowboys, they're lucky. They have a chance to get back to 500. They're at Arizona Monday Night Football. Sorry, they're home against Arizona Monday Night Football. That feels like a rebound spot for them as well. Listen, Dallas, I think can hang around, especially because that tie. They're going to be hanging around that wild card. I think the division is pretty much done. But if you're the Broncos, you can't afford slip-ups at this point in time.
No, the Chiefs, that's why are rolling.
Yeah, and that's why this one was important. You have a bad defense. You're at home. Go out and win the game. They did exactly that. Caleb threw 4 touchdowns against the Dallas too.
Right. Yes, very true. The Green Bay Packers on the road in Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, wait, Colts.
Titans.
Really quick. Yeah, I mean, there's not much. They might be the best team in the league.
Yeah, Colts beat the Titans 38-14. Absolutely rolling. Jonathan Taylor, another massive performance on the ground.
He's my
That's
MVP.
why yeah, exactly. I do think he should be the front running MVP right now because as well as Daniel Jones is playing, he's not playing this well without the performance of Jonathan Taylor.
It's complimenting. It's all working really well. I mean, when you look at the box score, it just like everything's working. Daniel Jones, 21 of 29, 272 yards, 3 touchdowns. Taylor, 12 rushes. That's it for 153 yards, 2 touchdowns. But he had 2 catches, 21 yards, and a touchdown. Michael Pittman, leading receiver, 8 catches, 95 yards, a touchdown. Everything is working. Everything is working. And they just blew out a divisional opponent at home. I love also the quotes from. Did you see the Irsay daughter who's kind of in charge of the team at this point?
No, I saw like
retweeted
snippets.
it.
I didn't actually listen and watch, but she was talking. She was talking about what listening in on the sidelines, right, and how that's benefited her.
If you haven't watched, she is on the sidelines and is taking notes, and it's brilliant. They went from Jim Irsay, who was kind of this like a drug addict, fun guy, wild child, but is a guy and loves football and played football. A kind of a mini Jerry Jones' own world, who's like a decision maker extraordinaire. And it felt a little like unbuttoned up at times. It felt like a little lack of accountability at times. That to a woman who, by all accounts, I think it's almost brilliant what she's doing. She's basically saying, listen, I don't really know football. I don't. I've been around it now for years, but I don't know how this works. But I'm the owner, and I have to pay these people millions of dollars, and I want to know how this works. And it's a great response. And I have it on my Twitter page. I retweeted it. And I truly feel like
she wants to actually understand what's happening with her company.
And the great thing is they're winning right now. So she doesn't have to panic and like fire someone. But imagine if your boss was just watching you and taking notes and admittedly saying, I don't really know if you're good at what you do because I don't know this. Normally, if you have a boss, your boss knows like, hey, I run my company. I'm your boss. I know what's a good job and what's not a good job. She's basically saying, I don't know if you're doing a good job, but I'm going to fucking find out and I'm not going to pay you millions of dollars if I think you're not doing a good job. It's brilliant. I wish I would kill for someone in the McCaskey family to say, you know what? That's what we're going to start doing.
Right.
I am going
It
to
also shows initiative in that you care.
Yes,
Yeah.
it feels great. So kudos to them. Titans they're in free fall right now. No head coach. Ward is a talent, but he's no direction. They are against the Chargers next week. That seems like a layup for the Chargers. The Colts are at the Steelers. We'll talk about your Steelers. That's a big game for them at home against the number 1 seed in the AFC next week.
Yeah, it's huge game. Packers handed them a big L this past Sunday night, 35-25. The final there. I don't really know where to begin too much with this game because it's.
Let's just. To me, what I want to hear you talk about is you're up 19-14 at the end of the third.
Yeah.
How are you feeling there? And then how does the game fall apart?
I'm not feeling good at the end of the third. I didn't feel good after the opening of the third quarter, really, because it was apparent that they were already starting to not run the ball, that they were in a position to run the football.
Yeah.
And Jaylen Warren got 3 carries in the entire second half when this game was close for 90% of the second half.
We're preaching
when Jaylen Warren is averaging 6 yards a carry the last 2 weeks, Mark. It's working. And yes, Isaac Ciamelo, their left guard, left, so they didn't have their jumbo package available anymore. That's still not an excuse to just not run the football anymore. If you can only run the football with the jumbo package, you got bigger problems, right? But I don't want to make this about offense because this entire loss was 100% on the shoulders of the defense and Mike Tomlin, and to an even lesser extent, Terrell Austin, the coordinator. This is why I didn't even have any grand things to say, because it's almost fatiguing, because I do feel like we get to a point in the season the last 6 years where it's kind of the same things we're talking about. Now on occasion it's been offense, of course, Matt Canada, all of that stuff. But we're talking about a defense that is consistently, even when they've been great, has never put together the consistent greatness to be the best defense in the league, right? Even when we think that they should have been. TJ Watt, the last 11 games, has been absent. He's got 3 sacks the last 11 games he's played. That's just inexcusable. For a guy that just got extended with $40 million a year, you can't have that. We're seeing now that Myles Garrett is currently a way better player overall. I don't care how many times TJ Watt gets chipped. You need your players, your stars, who you pay for on the defensive side. Cam Hayward, who was complaining, about not getting paid, gets paid. You bring in veteran defensive backs to hopefully play more man defense, and all they are is slow, and they can't play man defense. Darius Slay has been a brutal experiment to this point. Jalen Ramsey's been fine, and he's had his moments. It is really frustrating when you have a defensive head coach that is supposed to be one of the best coaches in the league, whose defenses are routinely the highest paid, who have superstars, and who somehow every game I can point to about 4 freeze frames on all 22 of players literally holding their hands up, looking at each other because of miscommunication. You can't. It's inexcusable. I don't understand what even a fix would be, and this is why it harkens back to what I've been thinking. Unfortunately, that I came to the consensus before last year, which was that it's Mike Tomlin needs to go. It's over. I have felt that way. I haven't not felt that way since I kind of came to that point, and I still feel that way. It would be such a Steeler thing to respond and have a great win this week against the Colts.
Of course.
But you know what? It's not going to change a thing in how I view the team. And that's the sad part, is they'll get up for certain moments. But even, Mark, when they had great pressure in this game, the big duck that Jordan Love floats up to Tucker Kraft and the defense can't bat it down. He ends up catching it and running 30 more yards. Happened again later in the game. Christian Watson comes down with it because Juan Thornhill inexplicably jumps 10 yards in front of the ball preemptively and misses it. It's a combination of things that continue to pop up with this team week in and week out. Can you guess where the total defense ranks this season for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well,
The highest paid defense, the defense that Mike Tomlin said could be historic, and the defense that many of the players reiterated those same sentiments. Where do you think they rank as total defense this year?
Well, okay, I'm trying to think. You had the Jets game in the first game of the year. You gave up a lot. You've had the last two games horrendous collapses in the fourth quarter. It's got to be 27, 28. Like if you're asking me,
28th.
Yeah.
They are 32nd against the pass.
Oh,
They're dead. They are the worst pass defense in the NFL. So that tells you all you need to know about the make of this team. I can't put the blame on the offense. Yes, they should have ran the ball more. Absolutely. That did frustrate me a lot. I think they could have helped themselves out. I think Aaron Rodgers has been above expectations to this point.
I would agree. I'd agree.
And they're sustaining drives and they're doing things. Now, they needed to get touchdowns. They settled for way too many field goals. We want to talk about field goals, by the way, but Chris Boswell is unbelievable. Like he is so automatic from 55. Like
he almost won me my fantasy.
I'm like, he's making, it's not even a question that he's not making the 55-yarder.
Yeah. He's great.
And it does suck that I feel like some of that's being wasted. But yeah, I mean, that's my takeaway. I know it was a lot. And it's kind of just lamenting this defense, but it's embarrassing.
Well, is
that
it coaching?
Such a talented unit lets the other team's best player constantly crush you. Yeah. We're talking Justin Jefferson earlier this year, and Stephon Diggs had a nice game, and Tucker Kraft this week, Jamar Chase last week. Like, they won't adjust and stop it.
Is that coaching or is that the players? Like, because that's my biggest question.
It's a little bit of both, but I say more coaching. I say it's got to be more coaching.
Yeah, it's kind of like my thing with the penalties thing. Is it the players or is it coaching? I don't know. I feel like at some point I have to say the coaching is where the blame needs to go.
I think it's stubbornness in saying, well, we had a game plan to stop this guy, and so you players need to execute what we game plan. They're not. It's not happening. So pivot, and that's the problem. Every year they don't pivot. They don't pivot fast enough, and that's what I'm saying. It's the hubris. It's the I want to win my way, and if we're gonna lose, well, we're gonna lose my way, and it's such an outdated mindset, and it's really frustrating. And that's where we're at.
I'll bite the bullet and talk good about Green Bay. 5-1-1.
Please do, because they were phenomenal. Jordan Love was great.
He was great in the fourth quarter. 3 touchdowns, 360 yards. What's so funny to me about Green Bay is like you draft Matthew Golden, you think, all right, now like we're gonna get it. It's like and you're right back to Christian Watson as your leading receiver, and he's so unreliable, but he really is special when he's healthy. And it's like. And then Matthew Golden has 3 catches for 4 yards. And it's like, and Tucker Kraft is really wide receiver number 1. Like if I'm the Packers, I'm saying Tucker Kraft is our wide receiver number 1. He is our number 1 option. Josh Jacobs, 13 carries, 33 yards. The Steelers did do a nice job against the run.
They did.
As a team, Green Bay, they didn't credit to Green Bay, unlike the Bears. They stuck with it. 26 rushing attempts total as a team, 94 yards. They did get that Josh Jacobs touchdown. So, like, they didn't ever completely give up on it, even though Love threw the ball 37 times. They had to get back in this game. They were down in this game. They had to throw the ball. And in the end, it really felt like you have a Green Bay team that's got a bunch of talented dudes at every level, and they were making plays. And credit to Jordan Love. Jordan Love's a top 10 quarterback in this league. I don't know where you want to fight over the 7, 8, 6, 9, 10 week in and week out. When he plays like this, he's a top 10 quarterback in this league. And you know what? Of the guys who recently got paid big money, the Packers and Jordan Love are the ones who are seeing the returns. It's not Trevor Lawrence. It's not Miami. Of the recent contracts, even Joe Burrow, like
Yeah.
since he got paid, you're not seeing the dividends as far as that goes. He's the one. It's not Brock Purdy. They're not seeing the dividends from him. He's the one who you say, like, hey, listen, I got paid 2 years ago, and I'm 5-1-1, atop of the NFC, the number one overall seed in the NFC right now. And we just had a giant comeback where 3 straight touchdowns, 21 points,
20 straight completions.
Yeah,
20 straight completions.
They're scary. I'll say this about one of the other dichotomies of the game was Kraft 7 catches, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. We talked so much about the Pittsburgh and like getting the tight ends and the Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth in Washington. 5 catches for 30 between the 3 of them, and Washington was non-existent. So, like,
yeah,
I agree with you. I think the Packers' game plan kind of fell apart, and maybe that was a little bit like it's Rodgers, we're in Green Bay. Like, I don't know, but you can't let that happen. You have to have a culture and a coaching staff that's committed to something so that doesn't fall apart. I'm not dead on the Steelers. I still think the Steelers are very capable of winning the AFC North and representing the AFC North. I think the Steelers would still have the chance to be very dangerous, but I agree with you. I think defensively is a much bigger issue right now than offensively. And that is a weird change of pace over the last couple of years of Steelers football. That's for sure. Even though the defense has let them down at times over the last couple of years.
It's wild. They got Colts and then at Chargers and then Bengals on deck after that. I mean, that's 3 weeks right there. We said that this stretch was going to tell you a lot about this team. They're going to have to respond.
Green Bay is at Carolina, so they'll get to 6-1-1, and then Pittsburgh is home against the Colts.
Yeah.
No, Green Bay's home against Carolina, so it's a guarantee.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's pretty much guaranteed.
That's the 6-1-1. So yeah, they're starting to run away with the division a little bit. That's for sure.
Yeah, Steelers had an opportunity to really put it away, so they are going to have to.
Whatever that line is, though, I like the Steelers to cover at least. Like Mike Tomlin at home, big underdog adversity. Like
I could also see them getting crushed, absolutely crushed. But yeah, no, I could see them winning too. But we know one of the outcomes is not going to be Pittsburgh crushing because they never.
It doesn't feel in their DNA. It doesn't feel in their DNA.
The Chiefs win 28-7. That was a pretty easy game for Kansas City all around. It started really slow. It looked like Washington was going to hang around. Marcus Mariota in there, but Mahomes goes and throws 3 touchdowns after a slow start after a 7-7 half. And the rest is history. I mean, 5-3. Chiefs are looking really good. I don't have a whole lot of takeaways out from this game. They bumped up the rankings to me. Now I do consider them after this week the best team in the league. They're so good, and that was a bit of a mirage earlier this year.
They weathered the storm. They knew they were going to miss Rashee Rice at some point in time. It happened to be the first 6 games, and it just so happened also that Worthy missed the first 3 games, and it's like they weathered the storm. They are now Rice in 2 weeks is a clear number 1 receiver, and their plan and their game plan for Rice, it's like he works. It's great. I don't know if Rashee Rice is the number 1 guy on any other team, but with Pat Mahomes and that design and everything, it works. My one concern is, like Pacheco and Hunt is still the running back still a concern. Like,
it is
21 for 98 and a touchdown. That's fine when they combine for that. It feels like they're just 2 running backs into 1, and can you get 80 plus yards and a touchdown out of them? But it feels like Mahomes has to run right now a little bit, and that's my only caveat with this Chiefs offense. It feels like when the Chiefs were the Chiefs, like in 2019, 2020, 2021.
Yeah, I mean, Damian Williams had career years there, and
it felt like what's his name from LSU, it felt like Mahomes' scrambles were just like a knife in the belly on a third down. You're like, oh,
right, yeah.
It feels a little bit more like Mahomes has to run at times to move the chains. Like they're just we need you
to
keep
the defense.
Honest, a little bit more honest with the run game and some other things. I would love to see the Chiefs make a move at the deadline for a back. I don't know what back that is. I don't know who's maybe looking to offload.
Brees Hall.
Maybe it's Brees Hall. Maybe it's Alvin Kamara. Maybe it's, you know what I mean? Maybe it's a team that is looking for a third rounder or a fourth rounder that's starting to just, we need to assimilate picks. Maybe it's a team that says, hey, we know we're going to have to trade up in the first round. And so we have, we're going to need an extra third rounder from you to make a package. Like there's teams out there. You can start finding the teams and figuring out who maybe is a candidate for it. But I will just say this for them, the first 3 drives of the second half, just watch that football and you'll realize like the Chiefs are back. Now, Washington is 3-5, Dan. And I'll say this, they're against Seattle at home, Sunday Night Football. That is a ginormous
really big
game.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jaden
Daniels, he probably will is my assumption. Yeah.
At home, Sunday Night Football in a must-win against Seattle. You can't fall to 3-6. Once you get that 6, the window becomes so tight, as we talked about the Ravens. Like, because in both the AFC and the NFC right now, it feels like you have to have 7 or 8 losses to have a chance. Like 7 losses probably gets you into the playoffs at the 7 seed. 8 losses probably keeps you in the hunt to week 17 and you just miss it. So if you get to 6 at this point in time, that's dangerous. You are playing with fire. So they have got to go on a run here. Seattle's coming off a bye, will be well rested. They're playing great football. That's a big game. And then obviously Kansas City at Buffalo. Dan, if I were to tell you to pick that game right now, Kansas City at Buffalo, CBS late game, a little preview for what we'll be talking about next week. My gut tells me right now I trust Kansas City and their vibes way more. Obviously, I hope it's an all-timer, and
I do too, but it does feel like the Bills play Kansas City much better in the regular season. It's in the playoffs that they can't get over the hump.
Yeah.
And that one's in Buffalo, right?
Yeah, this one feels more impactful though because the Chiefs are a 3-loss team already. The Bills are a 2-loss team.
There's some urgency there.
There's a little bit more of like, and with the Colts being a 1-loss team, that like you've got to know, like you've got to start thinking about these things that we're at that point in the season. So for Kansas City to give Buffalo their 3rd loss and to have the tiebreaker over them, that would be huge. And for Buffalo to give Kansas City loss number 4, especially with Denver, we assuming, if they win, they're 2 out of the division and a lot of consequence in that game. I'll take Kansas City. I haven't seen the line, but I'll take Kansas City.
I think I will too. They've got some momentum going and just they're a better team, I think, at this point in time. So it'll be an interesting one for sure. A lot of good matchups this upcoming week for week 9, which kicks off on Thursday with the Ravens and the Dolphins. Hope everyone has a great and happy Halloween. We'll see you back next week for our week 9 recap.